Hello everyone. Welcome to the course Information System and Engineering Economics. Before we start our today's session, let's take an activity. You already know the title of today's session, that is ICT for Development and E-Governance. So you need to write down what you know about ICT and e-governance. If you did not find the contents you wrote on the paper in today's session and you would like to know more about them, then you can email me that topic. I will definitely help you. So let's start our activity. Pause this video for the next few minutes by pressing the pause button. Once you complete the writing, you can press the play button again to continue this session. Hope you complete your writing activity. Now we will take a quick review of what we have learned. Our previous session deals with business process integration. So just try to recall from previous session how many modules or subset we saw in ERP. Can you suggest any two modules from them? Yes. That's right. There are total 8 modules such as inventory and order management, accounting, human resource, customer relationship management, popularly known as CRM, and finance. So let's take review of our previous session. In the last lecture, we briefly discussed the importance of business process integration. After business process integration, we learn the necessity of managing business process documentation that we studied in enterprise resource planning, that is ERP. ERP vendors such as Microsoft, Oracle, these are the popular vendors of ERP. Then customer relationship management, that is CRM. We conclude our lecture with the discussion about supply chain management, that is SCM. So this was the quick review of my last lecture. Today we are planning to learn about ICT and e-governance. Information and communication technologies, that is ICT, can play a critical role in substantial human resource development, because of the way in which it improves the communication and exchange of knowledge and information necessary for development process. The e-governance stands for electronic government. The e-governance is basically associated with carrying out the functions and achieving the results of governance through the utilization of the ICT. In India, main thrust of e-governance was provided by launching NIC NET in 1987. NIC is nothing but National Satellite Based Computer Network, which is the backbone of ICT. ICT also play a critical role in speeding up the flow of information and knowledge between government and citizen and transforming the way in which government and citizen interact. As a computer engineer, you will be able to contribute a lot in this sector. The skill set you acquire in this course will definitely be used to serve our nation. Next, we will see the contents of this session. We just saw the importance of ICT and its role for implementing the e-governance services. Now we will see the contents of the lecture. We begin a session with the discussion of ICT for development. Then we proceed for the premises of ICT development. Here we will see some important statistics broadcasted by the United Nations. Then we will review the types of ICT interventions. After that, we will learn the concept of e-governance. It is interesting to learn about various implementation challenges. We conclude our lecture by discussing the types of government interaction. This is the roadmap for our session. Next, we will see what is the role of ICT in the process of development. We will first understand the concept of whom we should call development and developing countries. Then we will address the question, what is development? What does it mean to be a developing country? Development is a concept that is difficult to define. It is challenging to construct development taxonomy. Countries are placed into a group to try to be better understand their social and economic outcome. Classification based on per capita income. The most widely accepted criteria is labeling the countries as either developed or developing countries. United Nations Development Program UNDP classifying the UNDP's system. They calculate from the Human Development Index, popularly known as SDI, Human Development Index, which aim to take into account the composite index of 3 indices measuring countries' achievement in longevity, that is average age of human life. Then it consider education level and income level. It also recognizes aspect of development such as political freedom and personal security. As per the classification model of the United Nations, World Bank and International Monetary Fund IMF, they consider India is to be a developing country. Dr. Amartya Sen, well-known economist and Nobel Memorial Prize winner in economics science in 1998 and awarded with Bharat Ratna in 1999, said development should be more concerned about the human freedom than about income level. He mentioned that freedom from hunger, poverty, deprivation and illiteracy. According to Sen, development is enhanced by democracy and the protection of human rights. Such rights, especially freedom of the press, speech, assembly and so forth, increasing the likelihood of honest, clean and good government. Next, we will review the premise of ICT development. This is the premise of ICT development. This statistic shows comparative data of ICT penetration in 4 countries such as Sweden, USA, India and Nigeria. The survey has been carried out by the UN team. Collect information based on the parameter such as internet usage, number of personal computers used by the people, number of mobile phones, then broadband user in each country. This statistical data broadcasted by the United Nations in 2011. The statistics is available in our standard reference book, that is Fundamental of Engineering Economics. If you wish to know the latest statistic, then it is available on this URL. But my objective to discuss these statistics with you is that still computer engineers are having a wide scope to contribute to the field of ICT to promote e-governance in India. If you keenly observe these statistics, then you will find behind every 100 people, there are only 7 people who are using the internet. Then similarly, there are only 4 people who are having the personal computer and they work on it. So you have a wide scope to contribute in this field. Next, we will see the term digital divide. The term digital divide is used to describe situation in which there is a market gap in access to the use of ICT. It is measured, for example, number of fixed line phone per home, or the number of mobile users, or the internet connection in the population. It is the gap between individuals, household, businesses and geographic areas at different socio-economic levels with regard both to their opportunity to access ICT and to their use of the internet for wide variety of activities. The notion of the digital divides is complex and multidimensional. The United Nations Organization UNO General Secretary Kofi Annan in 2003 pointed out at the World Summit of the Information Society, he said there are really several digital divides that may overlap on each other. The technical challenges include unreliable electricity and communication infrastructure that rendered the communication network unreliable or inaccessible, as well as physical deterioration of infrastructure, the need of skilled IT support and necessity of the instituting standard procedure, theft of copper piping that creates the problem for laying the phone line in many parts of India. Then unreliable electricity made it very difficult for people to access computer. In most developing countries, electricity connection rates are also fairly expensive. The government recently reduced the computer tax so that it will help expand the reach of ICT. Hope you understand the challenges of ICT in rural areas. Next, we will discuss in brief about types of IT intervention. Before we start learning the types of IT intervention, it is necessary to see what is historical development of ICT and nowadays what are the recent trends in ICT. Many of the important economic and social changes that have been experienced in the early 21st century are directly due to the dramatic increase in the capability and the availability of the information and communication technology. The remarkable uptake of ICT has not only affected the technology and the telecommunication sector, but rippled through nearly every aspect of the economy and the society in many countries. The first type of IT intervention is informational. Informational in the sense the increased impact of ICT is due to the dramatic increase in its power of ICT. It covers a broad range of technologies while commonly associated with computers. The term also includes other informational media such as handheld devices, television, radio, and even printouts. To this, information technologies can be added to communication technologies such as telephones and networks. Then second type is the transactional. Outside of a school, ICT has a significant social impact. Large number of people in developed countries use the internet regularly to conduct the online purchasing, access government services, as well as they play games, exchange email, conduct banking transaction, and search for the information. Then third type is political. The ICT can help to create and consolidate a lawful, effective and democratic political system and fair, tolerant and free society that is characterized by sustainable and unbiased development and effective institution which guarantee peace and political stability. The next type of ICT is important, that is educational. There is a need for significant financial investment to integrate ICT into the education system. The use of computer make a difference in teaching and learning. The impact of current ICT was done within education system that like other component of society and economy. The best example is e-learning. Although most commonly associated with higher education and corporate training, e-learning encompasses learning at all levels, but both for the formal and the non-formal that use information network, that is internet. There will be a wholly or in part or sometime it is dedicatedly use the lease line for the course delivery, interaction, evaluation and facilitation. Then the last type is sustenance. ICT made it possible to sustain the youth of India to acquire global knowledge. For that, the Department of School and Education and Literacy and Ministry of Human Resource Development under the Government of India along with Global e-School and Communication Initiative that initiate a consultative process to formulate the national policy for ICT in school education. ICT for preparing youth to compete globally and participate creatively in the establishment, sustenance and growth of knowledge society. Now it is time to see some important ICT project. So next there are ICT project. The objective of the World Bank is to promote the ICT in developing countries. The objective of information communication technology is to improve access, quality and use of ICT service to achieve socio-economic development in the organization. The ICT project is structured in 4 components. Support for the legal and regulatory reforms. Then second is universal access or services. Then third is ICT pilot project aimed at improving the growth and competitiveness in ICT. Then enable the services through the use of broadband and innovative ICT application. We will now discuss few most popular ICT project. We will begin with Radio Sangam. Radio Sangam in 1998, for very first time in India, a group of women in Telangana went on air about their lives, hopes, demands and experiences. Sangam Radio, the country's first community radio station, began as an initiative by the Deccan Development Society and UNESCO, and it owned and run by Dalit women from the Manchur village. When Sangam Radio was born, the Government of India issued a license to broadcast to Sangam Radio 10 years ago. Then community radio provided a new media. They provided new media space for the unprivileged rural. Next, we will review one more ICT project whose name is Video Volunteers. Video Volunteers, the concept of Video Volunteers led by Jessica Mary Berry and Stalin with a group of 6 to 10 community producers produce a monthly 30-minute video news magazine and then screen it in the same 30 villages each month. 13 community video units were set up with 13 leading NGOs in India. Community media is a media that is for and by communities. It empowers those who produce it and appear in it with a voice. It builds the social capital and community to address the critical local issues, and it gives people full control over their own narratives. And often it communicates people's need to the authority and leads to concrete resolution of local problem. Lastly, we will discuss the e-tuk-tuk. E-tuk-tuk is a mobile information and communication center located within a three-wheeled auto rickshaw, which is a favorite form of a transport common throughout in Southeast Asia. It is an outside broadcast unit for radio and mobile as well as telecenter. It containing laptop, printer and phone, wireless internet connection, loudspeaker and multimedia projector. The e-tuk-tuk is connected to the internet via CDMA WLL, that is code division multiple access and wireless local loop. This fixed wireless service has proven popular in Sri Lanka due to relatively low call cost and network coverage even in remote areas. So these are the few innovative projects based on the fundamentals of ICT. Now, in the remaining part of the lecture, we will review the term e-governance. So on next slide, we will see e-governance concept. Process of implementing an e-government system passes through different stages until it reaches its highest potential stage. This is the integration of government information and service in different departments for different functions and at different levels of government system, thus enabling citizens to obtain government services and information online from a single point of access. There are total 4 classification stages of e-government through which this system goes. The first stage is informational. In this stage, information about activities of government available online. To achieve this, it is necessary to create website and make government information and services available online. Old or outdated information must be removed from the portal. Only updated information must be available. Updating information regularly is very, very important. After informational step, there is a one-way interaction stage. In this stage, delivery of government services are made available online. This is one-way communication between government and citizen. To achieve this, there is a need to create website by department and agencies. This stage is also called information pushing stage. The approach is known as push e-government, where government information is pushed by government organization to be available for citizen online. After this interaction stage, there will be a two-way interaction stage. In two-way interaction stage, e-government enables citizen to have electronic interaction with government services such as renewing driving license, paying water taxes, thus facilitating the unrestricted two-way communication with the help of technologies like email, discussion board, explicit transaction processing, whereby citizens carry out the complete transaction via online interface. On the other hand, enable two-way communication, push and pull e-government, where government services are pushed by the government organization to be available for citizen online, where data can be pulled from the citizen online. Therefore, the transaction stage enables citizen to carry out complete transaction such as renewing the visa and paying the bills with specified government organizational online. This means that the transaction stage can reduce both cost and time. After this stage, the system entered into the transactional stage. E-government matured model is identify a transaction stage along the pathway to full system integration. The main goal of or important feature of this stage is transaction processing and transaction of e-government services. E-government initiative proposed to enhance efficiency of transaction, improving the accountability, better business processes and create new services. But there is a lot of complexity associated with process management, especially at transaction stage. This stage provides citizen with full benefits from the transactions over internet, such as applying for the public rallies, security services, purchasing a license and permits, services that enable transactions of value between citizens and government. In short, this stage enables citizens to interact with their government electronically. I hope you understand very well the transaction stage of e-government system. After these four stages, next is stakeholder. Stakeholders are government, non-government or non-government agencies, enterprises and citizen. The term used to define e-government are indefinite and it means many things to be different stakeholders group. There will be three basic levels of access that exist for e-government stakeholder. First is no access to the web services or limited access to the web services and or full access to the web services. However, when personal sensitive data exists, the information of the security access policy is much more complex process and with legal consideration. With the implementation of the e-government projects, effective measures must be taken to protect sensitive personal information. A lack of clear security standards and protocols can limit the development of projects that contain sensitive information such as income, medicinal history. Next, we will discuss the economic assessment. Economic assessment in India, main agency involved in assessment of e-governance project is the Department of Electronic and Telecommunication Technology. This department carried out overall e-assessment strategy processes to list, identify and conduct independent third-party assessment of e-governance for development project that provide any measure of e-governance services. In order to understand the impact, utility, sustainability, scalability and replicability of the project. The evaluation of the e-government leads to enhanced contact between nation, service enterprises and government organizations that cause development in economy. One more assessment is there, and that is developmental assessment. Developmental assessment is nothing but internet and communication technology gives opportunity to the citizen to be better informed about both policy and services provided by government in user-friendly environment. The internet and communication technologies gives the opportunity to citizen to be better informed about both policy and services provided by government in a user-friendly environment. The government of India has taken widely use of ICT from last 3 decades. In a sector such as public sector can offer important benefits such as improved planning and monitoring mechanism, cost saving through rationalization and more effective administration and delivery of certain public services. Today, wide range of e-governance projects are being implemented in different parts of the country, including projects aimed at reaching areas and people that had traditionally not been connected to the outside world. Hope you understand e-governance concept. Now next we will discuss a very interesting topic, that is implementation challenges of e-governance. There are large number of potential barriers to the implementation of e-governance. Some obstacles in the path of implementation like security, unequal access to computer technology, high initial cost for setting up the e-government solutions and resistance to change. Challenges identify as trust, resistance to change, design including location, local language, portfolio of applications, scale, and lastly is cost. We begin with trust. Trust can be defined along 2 dimensions, as an assessment of current situation or as an personality trait. The implementation of public administration function via e-government requires the presence of 2 levels. That 2 levels must be confined to the trust. The first is the user must confident, comfortable and trusting of the current technology with which they will interact. The second dimension of trust is pertaining to the trust of the government. Next challenge is the resistance to change. The resistance to change phenomena can be explained much of the hesitation that occurs on the part of the constituents in moving from a paper-based to a web-based system for interacting with government. Education about the value of the new system is one step toward reducing some of the existing resistance. It can also be particularly useful for a leader or manager to buy into a new system at an early stage in adoption process. Next challenge is the design. It includes location, local language. So while designing the e-governance system, there is a need to consider versatile parameters such as location, local language, application design and scalability. The designer team must consider that there is a separation that exists between individuals, communities and businesses that have access to the information technology and those that do not have such access. Social economic infrastructure and multilanguaging indicator provide explanation for the presence of the digital divide. Economic poverty is closely related to the limited information technology resources. An individual living below poverty line does not afford a computer for himself. Then next is cost. Cost is one of the most important prohibiting factor that comes in the path of e-governance implementation, particularly in developing countries like India, where most of the people live below the poverty line. So, for implementing this project, cost is the major obstacle. Apart from the cost, there are few more challenges such as privacy and security, technical and economic and social as well as organizational and political obstacle. The solution to the technical and organizational challenges can be overcome with understanding from the participants' point of view. So next we will see the types of government interaction. There are 4 types of government interaction. We will see one by one each interaction. We will begin with G to G, that is government to government. We can name here a few initiatives taken by government to establish G to G interaction. The application of IT intra-government operations, that is government to government, is Khanje project in Karnataka. It is comprehensive online treasury computerization project of the government of Karnataka. The project has resulted in computerization of the entire treasury related activities of the state government, and the system has the ability to track every activity right from the approval of the state budget to the point of rendering account to the government. Smart government is another application of G2G. Smart government has developed to streamline operation, enhance efficiency through workflow and knowledge management for implementation in Andhra Pradesh. Then next is G2C, that is government to citizen. In government to citizen, computerization of land record in collaborated with NIC, ensuring that landowner get computerized copy of the ownership of land as well as the crop and tenancy and updated copies of records of right. Then one more initiative is Gyandoot. It is an internet-based government to citizen service. It was initiated in Dhar in Madhya Pradesh with the twin objective of providing relevant information to the rural population and acting as an interface between the district administration and the people. Apart from that, there are many G2C initiatives such as Lokvani project in Uttar Pradesh, Project Friends in Kerala, then E-Mitra project in Rajasthan, E-Seva in Andhra Pradesh, admission to the professional colleges, that is Common Entrance Test CET in Maharashtra. Then next is government to business, that is G2B. Government to business, application of IT operation performed by government in a manner of G2B transaction. For example, e-procurement project in Andhra Pradesh to reduce the time and cost of doing businesses for both vendors and the government. Then another project is MCA 21. It is initiated by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The project aims at providing easy and secure online access to all registry related services provided by Union Ministry of Corporate Affairs to corporate and other stakeholders at any time in a manner that best suit to them. One more initiative, that is G2E, that is government to employee. In government to employee, the government has developed e-office. Its aim is increasing the usage of workflow and rule-based file routing, as well as it should provide quick search and retrieval of file and office orders, digital signatures for authentication, and creates the reports. The pensioner scheme, another example is the pensioner scheme. Its primary aim at making the pensioners or retirement related information, services and grievances handling mechanism accessible online to needy pensioners through a combination of the interactive and non-interactive components, and thus help bridge the gap between the pensioners and the government. I hope you understand the concept of ICT and e-governance. So next we will see some study question based on today's topic. So first question is, explain how e-governance can facilitate social transformation in India. Second question, what are the major types of interaction initiatives present in e-government? Explain any two of them. And third question, explain how the economic assessment is carried out in the e-governance project. Solve this question as an assignment for Unit 3 and submit it before the deadline. We just summarizing our today's session. In this session, we briefly discuss the ICT penetration in developing countries, types of ICT interventions. We learn the e-governance concept. Next, in next session, we will study the case study based on ICT and e-governance from Unit 3, that is leveraging information system. We will learn the importance of the ICT in the establishment of the e-governance. The case study of ICT project are available in this textbook. You can take a review of the fundamental of that case study. Suppose you have any question or difficulty in solving the assignment, Feel free to write your questions and queries on our Google forum. I will be happy to solve your queries. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.